Welcome to part 4 in the series How to Hear the Voice of God. This presentation is entitled Eternal Worshippers of the Sun. My name is José Ricardo de Souza and I would like to invite you to probe this issue with me. In Lecture 3, we looked at the first great error mentioned in the Great Controversy. In this lecture, we will discuss the second great error, Sunday, Day of the Sun, Sacredness. To begin our study today, let's take a look into what some historical document says about sun worship. The sun was worshipped in many countries: Babylonia, Persia, Greece, Rome, Egypt, Ethiopia, Nigeria, Japan, India, Australia, and the Americas. Here we see that many countries had a common belief in the area of the sun worship. How it is possible that so many people groups had this belief? Where did this belief get started? Let's read once again in Genesis 10, 8-10. And Cush begat Nimrod. He began to be a mighty one in the earth. He was a mighty hunter before the Lord. And the beginning of his kingdom was Babel and Erech and Akkad and Calneh and the land of Shinar. Let's take a look at this character, Nimrod. The Bible says that he was a great one and a great hunter. According to historic books, what was his impact in our world? And let's remember what the historians say. Many historians have identified the biblical family of Ham, Cush, and Nimrod as the source of post-flood false religions. So according to many historians, the false religions that appeared after the flood can find the beginning in a single family. What family? The family of Ham, Cush, and Nimrod. As a confirmation of this fact, we will look into some of the religions of the different peoples to see if it is possible to see any evidence of Nimrod being involved with their false religions. The Chaldeans and Babylonians. Among the gods worshipped by the Chaldeans was Bel or Inu. His name, which seems to mean merely Lord, is usually followed by a qualitative adjunct. It is a purpose to read this term as Nipru or the feminine Niprut, a word that cannot fail to recall the scriptural Nimrod. Thus, Bel-Nipru would be aptly translated as the hunter lord, or the god presiding over the chase, or the conquering lord. Here we see evidence that Nimrod was worshipped by the Chaldeans and later the Babylonians, and so on. The example of deification of monarchs seems to have begun with Nimrod. Under the title of Bel-Nipru or Bel-Nimrod, the worship of Nimrod by one name or another has passed down through history to present times. We can see thus far where the deification of the kings came from. But what about the queen and veneration of the goddesses? Goddess Beltis was the wife of Bel-Nimrod. Her common title was the Great Goddess. Her favorite title was the Mother of Gods. We learned in Lecture 2 what God says about the worship of the Queen of Heaven, another name for which is the Mother of the Gods. The New Encyclopedia Britannica, volume 26, page 534, says that the sun and the moon were seen as a divine couple, the sun being male and the moon being female. Let's look at the names given to this couple in a few different countries. It is interesting to note the name of the sun-moon couple in Chaldea are Bel-Nimrod and Beltis. So Nimrod was represented by the sun and Beltis by the moon. Looking at all this evidence, one could conclude that the worship of the sun began with Nimrod. Now let's look at this idea of the sun worship in a few people groups, countries. The Mayan people. For example, the sun temple was built to worship the sun god, Inside of these temples, they, Mayas, performed all types of ceremonies. The Native American people, common to virtually all Native American Indian tribes, is a belief in all-knowing, all-powerful deity. This spirit is believed to have made the universe. In many tribes, the deity is represented by the sun and is referred to as the Father. These tribes also worship a goddess, Mother Earth. It is important to note that the Native Americans also worshipped Mother Earth. So some cultures worship the sun moon and some worship the sun-earth couple. The sun has two wives then. The ancient Greek Helios, Greek sun. In Greek religion, the sun god. In classical Greece, Helios was especially worshipped in Rhodes, where from at least the early 5th century BC, he was regarded as the chief god to whom the island belonged. The Egyptians, sun worship. The deification and adoration of the sun occurred primarily in agrarian societies. One of the most important gods of Egyptian religion was Ra, the sun god, who was considered the first king of Egypt. The pharaoh, said to be the son of Ra, was the sun god's representative on earth. In all of these people groups, we see that there is a common belief in sun worship, and even though they worship the sun in a little different ways, each of these cultures also had a custom to using obelisks. What were these obelisks for? Principal sun symbol. The obelisk, as is commonly known, is a symbol sacred to the sun god. It was, as is here mentioned, a sacred symbol for the sun god. Of course, it is not the only sun symbol, but it is the principal symbol for sun worship. What is the biblical name for an obelisk? And I will destroy your high place, and cut down your sun image, and cast your dead bodies upon the bodies of your idols. And my soul shall abhor you. I will uproot your sacred poles from among you and destroy your towns. We here confirm that sun image or sacred poles are hated by God. He wanted to destroy them. Do you think it is a coincidence? How did these people use an obelisk to worship the sun if some of them didn't know each other? If you think logically, it is obvious that these people came from the same root of paganism, the family of Ham, Cush, and Nimrod. Through the two great errors, the immortality of the soul and Sunday sacredness, Satan will bring the people under his deceptions. While the former lays the foundation of spiritualism, the latter creates a bond of sympathy with Rome. The Protestants of the United States will be foremost in stretching their hands across the gulf to grasp the hand of spiritualism. They will reach over the abyss to clasp hands with the Roman power. As we have read this quote in Lecture 3 to study the immortality of the soul, now we will look at this same quote to begin our study of the Sunday sacredness in the three great religions of the world today: Rome and Sunday. The oldest acknowledgement of Sunday observance as legal obligation is the Constitution of Constantine of 321 AD, decreeing that all courts of justice, citizens of cities and officials rest on the venerable day of the sun, Venerabili Die Solis, the only exception to those who were involved in working with agriculture. The first recorded Sunday law in a part of the sun worshippers said that only farm workers could work on that day. A Roman Caesar made this law. The Roman Church pushed itself into the place of the Roman world empire, of which it is the actual continuation. The Pope, who calls himself King and Pontifex Maximus, is Caesar's successor. Adolf Harnack, what is Christianity? The Pope claims to be Jesus and Peter's successors, but in reality he is the successor of the Caesars. In the first centuries, the true Sabbath had been kept by all Christians, that the attention of the people might be called to the Sunday. It was made a festival in honor of the resurrection of Christ. Thus, the pagan festival came finally to be honored as a divine institution, while the Bible Sabbath was pronounced a relic of Judaism, and its observers were declared to be accursed. Here we can see the gradual process that occurred, fulfilling what the Bible said would happen. The change of the Sabbath to Sunday fulfills the prophecy of Daniel 7:25 that says, "And think to change times and laws." The only commandment that talks about time is the Sabbath commandment. But doesn't the Bible say that Sabbath was changed to Sunday? The Catholic Church admits that. You may read the Bible from Genesis to Revelation, and you not find a single line authorizing the sanctification of Sunday. The Scriptures enforce the religious observance of Saturday. It says that you cannot find any authorization for the sanctification of Sunday in the Bible. It was not Jesus who changed the day. The Catholic Church, by virtue of her divine mission, changed the day from Saturday to Sunday. And continuing this discussion, the Catholic Church claims the credit for the change of the day of rest from Sabbath to Sunday. And by difference, they are saying that it was not Jesus that changed the day, it was us. Another detail that cannot be left out is that Sunday is called the Lord's Day. But look at the word of Jesus, and he said unto them that the Son of Man is Lord also the Sabbath. In other words, he was saying, either you worship the Lord of the Sabbath, me, or the Lord of Sunday, the Son. Jesus is calling us to worship the Lord of the Sabbath on the day that he has chosen. Look at the sun symbol above his head. Here are two examples of obelisks the Catholic Church has or uses in its worship service. We have already seen in Leviticus and Micah that God does not allow the use of the obelisk to worship him. Sun worship in spiritualism, in astrology, and other branch of spiritualism, they use an astrological map to foretell people's future. In this map, the sun is the principal star that governs all the planets and the future of people. We know through astronomy, science that studies stars, that the sun is the biggest star in our galaxy, but there is no proof that it influences our destiny. This is just one branch of spiritualism. Let's look at another branch. Modern spiritualism, known as the New Age movement, works in the care of the earth, environmental movement. This is a new disguise for an old belief in Mother Earth, worship known as Gaia. Here you see once again the pagan principle of couple worship, the sun and the earth. Catholicism emphasizes sun worship, male, with Sunday sacredness, and the New Age movement emphasizes earth worship, female. Here, as with the ancient American Indians, again we see the worship of Mother Earth, also known as Gaia. Sun symbol, reaching over the abyss, is the spirit of the papacy, the spirit of conformity to world customs, the veneration for human traditions above the commandments of God that is permitting the Protestant Church in leading then on to do the same work of Sunday exaltation which the papacy has done before then. It should be noted that in the USA most Protestant churches have an obelisk on top of them. Biggest Protestant country. In the country that began Protestant has many symbols in its capital. Two of these are to the Washington Monument and the Pentagon, both of which are different forms of the same sun symbol. Modern sun worshippers. Thousands deify nature while they deny the God of nature, though in a different form. Idolatry exists in the Christian world today as verily as it existed among ancient Israel in the days of Elijah. The God of many professedly wise men and philosophers, poets, politicians, journalists, the God of Polish fashionable circles, of many colleges and universities, even of some theological institutions, is little better than Baal, the sun god of Phoenicia. What does the Bible teach about Sunday? God did not rest on that day. Christ did not rest on that day. The Bible never calls Sunday the Lord's Day. The Bible never calls Sunday a day of rest. Jesus never mentions the name Sunday even after his death. Now here in the Bible, does it say that the first day of the week is for the commemoration of the resurrection of Christ? This is a human tradition. Baptism commemorates the death and resurrection of Christ. Romans 6, 3-5. The biggest argument against keeping Sunday is given by those that keep it. They say that the law of God was abolished. If that is the case, why do we need to keep Sunday? In different ways, in different places, and in different ages, most, if not all of the people groups of the world have met on the same beliefs: immortality of the soul and sun worship. But God is calling you to remember your Creator. Sun worship tries to substitute worshiping the Creator. We should worship the Creator and not the sun, His creation. It is our prayer that you hear the voice of God. Maybe He bless you as you choose to stand on His side. Amen.